We'll call the meeting to order. Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Indian River County Hospital District regular monthly meeting. Glad you all are here. Welcome. And Alan Jones we have on Zoom, so he's with us as well. Frank, invocation.
Absolutely. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come together this evening with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our community and steward the public trust. We recognize that the decisions made in this room affect the health, well-being, and dignity of thousands of residents across Indian River County. Grant us wisdom to see clearly, courage to act responsibly, and humility to listen carefully to one another. Help us remain focused not on personal interest or recognition, but on the greater good of those who depend on access to care, compassion, and hope. We ask for guidance as we navigate complex challenges in healthcare, balancing limited resources, growing needs, and the responsibility entrusted to us by the public. May our discussions be thoughtful, respectful, and grounded in integrity. We also lift up the healthcare professionals, first responders, community partners, and caregivers throughout the county who serve others each day, often under difficult circumstances. Strengthen them in their work and remind them that their efforts matter deeply. Finally, we ask that all we do tonight reflect a commitment to improving the lives of those who are vulnerable, underserved, and in need. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, our consent agenda tonight, I'll be seeking approval. I'm sorry.
No, I jumped just that much too soon.
Okay.
Finish your thought.
Okay. Approval of the chairman's meeting minutes dated April the 15th, regular monthly meeting minutes dated April the 16th, and a May disbursement of now. Yes.
It wasn't in the packet, but you received from staff a few days ago the March 16th Finance and Audit Committee minutes.
Mhm.
They need to get approved as well.
Ah, okay.
So if we could add that.
Okay. A May disbursement of $2,485,408.94, along with the March Finance Committee meeting minutes. Correct.
I would move that approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Oh, thank you, Alan. Okay, great. We'll move on to reports. I don't have a report tonight. So Dana, our district council, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So this month has been a busy month, even though I have only my one sheet here, but we're going to get into specifically on the 10th Street matter. So we did review the lease yesterday during the chairman's meeting for the 10th Street property. We have taken back several edits, so that is being finalized right now. We will run the final draft by Thrive again, and that will be brought back for trustee review and approval at the upcoming meetings in June. The next item on here has to do with VCOM and their intended purchase of the HSB. So based upon the approval provided yesterday during the chairman's meeting, we have moved forward with providing what will be an updated copy of that purchase agreement to Cleveland Clinic. Right now, I just have the edits to put the updated right of first refusal for the district to have in the future contract that VCOM will execute eventually if everything is approved. So that will go to Cleveland Clinic for their review and their analysis under their right of first refusal, and then we'll come back to the board for final approval once we determine whether Cleveland Clinic will exercise that right. We also did receive a proposed drainage agreement from the VNA. I do want to note that we are still waiting for an analysis from the engineer that was secured by the district. So once we do get that analysis, it will be brought back to the trustees for evaluation to determine what to move forward with on that VNA drainage agreement. And then we also continue to work alongside staff. I mentioned this yesterday as well, the chairman's meeting, in reviewing and updating policies. So you will be seeing a continued review of policies over the next several months as we either put new policies in place to align with potential federal grant approvals and/or just updating policies that are in place. Thank you.
When do we expect to hear from our engineer?
Madam Chair, I don't have an answer for that, but we have sent at least one reminder. We have sent 3 reminders. So we'll get an update as soon as possible.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions for council? Thank you very much. Financial statements, Michael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fellow trustees, 7 months into the 25-26 fiscal year, I am very pleased to report that the hospital district's financial position remains very strong. As is our practice, let's begin our overview of the April financials by turning to the last 4 pages in that financial section of your board packet. We'll begin with the 1-page financial snapshot of the district's cash and investments. That's the landscape page, 4 pages from the end. And at the top of the page, you will see that as of April 30th, the district had received $21,710,322 of ad valorem tax funds. That represents 97.5% of what we anticipated and budgeted. Also want to thank Frank, as I don't always do that. He's the one who actually pulls that snapshot together, and I appreciate it greatly. The first section, section 1 of the snapshot, shows that the district's U.S. Treasury holdings totaled $11,992,637 at the end of April. These staggered T-bills earned an average interest rate, as you see, of 3.703, which was basically the same as last month. Section 2 details the district's holdings in the preferred deposit pool. That's our money market account, and at the end of last month, it held $4,888,348. It was earning 3.54, exactly what it was earning a month ago. And Section 3 shows the district's local operating accounts at Seacoast Bank. At the end of the last month, we were holding $246,226. All combined, 7 months into the fiscal year, our investment and cash holdings totaled $17,127,211. And I think this is a record, Frank, I might be wrong, but 99.2% of these holdings were in some form of allowed investment. As always, thank you, Frank. If you turn the page, you'll see the first page of the year-to-date expenses versus budget spreadsheet. And as the benchmark for evaluating expenses, the header over columns 2 and 3 shows that an even monthly distribution, which we of course do not do, into the fiscal year would have programs and agency expenses at 58.3%. As always, as you look through that spreadsheet, you're going to see a wide spread of where individual programs and agencies actually stand. As you know, we have a couple of agencies that are present today who will be seeking some additional funding for the year as they're running hot. Moving to the middle of the last page of the spreadsheet, you'll see that the total for all program expenses at the end of April was $13,432,826. That represents 60.4% of the total approved budget. And the bottom half of that last page shows the district's administrative expenses, and you can see those total expenses through April totaled $1,019,311, and that's at 71.3% of approved budget. Now, combined, the hospital district's total and program administrative expenses, as you see, totaled $14,452,137, which is 61.1% of the budget. Now, that combined overage in expenses equals 2.8%, or $649,103. Of that amount, program expenses are over by $463,707. That's 71% of the overage. And administrative expenses are over budget by $185,396, which is 29% of that overage. You can pick through there. One of the things I actually did for myself, in case you came up with questions, is in addition to the columns that you get, which are straightforward, I added a couple of columns that showed if they were right on budget programs and agencies at 0.583%, what would that number be? And then the variation from that. So if you're interested, we can pick through and I can tell you, but it's a little here and a little there. And there are a couple of big ones. I will start by saying legitimately this month, the LIP were paid and they paid for the year. So they're over, but you look at Cleveland Clinic and you're going to see that they're under. But I'm happy to answer questions about that. It's new that we have, I mean, we've always had a few agencies that were paid and even monthly distributions. That's gone. So it feels in this first cycle of everything is fee for service, like we're all over the place. If you'd like, I can add those columns or add a separate sheet just so you can do a little looking in detail if that helps you. But again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the spreadsheet. And Frank and I would be happy to answer any questions about the snapshot. And I'll stop there, I think, for that to see if you've got questions before I go on to a couple of other things.
Mine is more in the administrative expenses, the office supplies. It looks like we're over our budget for the year and we're just 7 months into it. So is there a reason why office supplies and service contracts are so high?
It's not office supplies, it's service contracts, but Kate, you want to speak to that, please?
The only thing I can think of, we've done some IT migration, which has cost extra. I would need to really run an analysis on that to look at just exactly, I don't want to speak to something that I'm not 100% sure. I can get that information and follow up with you all next month to see if it's something we need to be preparing for in the future or if it's just a one-time overage.
But I would, thank you, Kate, but I would guess that the root of your question is this a one-time or is this going to be a sustained overage?
Yeah.
So, and I would think it's more leaning one-time than
I
sustained
think, and
overage.
forgive
Well,
me.
let's do that
nothing's coming
analysis
to
and
my
follow
mind
up.
right at this
Thank you.
moment.
Yeah, I had a couple of things. Michael, did you want to address the error on page 5, the column?
On page 5, Kate, of the third P&L, the September through October through April. The last 2 columns, 2 and 3, are
Transposed.
transposed. I actually didn't catch it. I was
You've seen-
focused more on what the actual.
Yeah, I'm not.
Page 5. Just,
It's of that third set of P&Ls because there's 3 in there.
just so we get it correct for the record.
Yeah, and if that's a template that Erica or someone is using at DeSalvo, we just got to get that corrected.
So the budget and the dollars over budget columns are transposed.
Here.
Correct, correct. Yeah, page 5 of the October 25 through April 26 year-to-date P&L.
And then I just had a question about the LIP payment. So for TCCH, we dispersed $478,000 and $478,024, but we budgeted $500,000. So is that 478 the exact number we're going to pay for the year?
Correct. So at the time we set the budget, while I did have the exact amount from whole family, I did not have the exact amount for TCCH. So that was just a hold of 500. I knew that would cover it, and it came in at 478.
Okay, that's what I suspected. I just wanted to make sure we weren't going to pay another
It was
22,000.
more common. Yeah.
And then I know it's relatively de minimis. So the financial question leads to a different question. For New Horizons, the inpatient psych evaluations, I saw that none were charged in April, but they're over budget for the year. So there's the question, is this a trend that is going to continue? But my related question is, so are we sending more inpatient psychiatry patients out of county to New Horizons than going to, say, the behavioral health clinic?
Dr. Mackett, let me have Shannon. Can you speak to the volumes at least?
Yeah, as far as the volumes are concerned, they're reporting accurately. I double checked with them this month about that for April, and they mentioned there weren't any. So as far as their trends, they're aware of what their budget is, they're aware, and the backup that's provided every month, I verify they're all Indian River County residents, so.
Yeah,
don't
so my
answer your
question
question.
might be addressed to them,
Yeah.
are they seeing more Indian River County inpatient admissions than it is, would be expected? And are we diverting patients away from Cleveland Clinic?
So
I'll be
let's-
happy to follow up with
let's
them
get
and
that
get
question.
you an
Yeah,
answer.
thank you,
Dr.
Shannon.
Beckett.
Okay,
We'll follow up, Dr. Mack.
thank you. That's all I had. Sure.
Alan, do you have any questions?
No, but thank you very much for the work you did, Michael.
You're welcome. I do have a couple of
Mhm.
things, if I may. Moving on, wanted you to know the Finance and Audit Committee did meet last week. I have a couple of things to update you on. First up, our meeting was joined by a gentleman who was interested in becoming a member of the Finance and Audit Committee. His name is Scott Wakerly. He was suggested to us by our own Shannon Cox. Thank you. You did get his resume over the last couple of days. Scott, a CPA, arrived here in Indian River County almost a year ago to become a member of the team out at Raymond. Fine fellow who jumped right in that first day, engaged in the discussion of some of our agenda items that we covered. I would note he shared that both his mother and father, Dad's a physician, Mom is a specialist nurse. Other family members are in the healthcare field, and he's the black sheep, I think Frank pointed out, being a CPA. But the bottom line is he had reached out, there'd been some discussion with Frank, and we were impressed by him, and it was the recommendation of the Finance Committee to you that you approve him formally joining our committee. And to that end, it'd be my pleasure to move that Scott Wakerly be approved to join the Finance and Audit Committee.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next, our meeting also included a review of a couple of policies. We've been doing that a lot over the last 3 meetings or so. It's all good. Those are in the process of being brought to you. We also spent some time discussing the creation of a policy, which is relative to another policy you were looking at recently, that defines the RFP process for the selection and timing of our auditor. You'll be seeing that policy as well in the not too distant future. It's going to impact us in some action next fiscal year. Lastly, we had a presentation from our friends at Deep Blue. They zoomed in. It was concerning the possibility of utilizing an additional investment option. It's the Florida Fixed Income Trust cash pool. Right now, we're in the preferred deposit pool. It's another one. Frank actually had some notation and an attachment, so I'm going to hold until his report to tell you what the committee felt we should do. But it was a good, hearty meeting, and I was pleased. And the fact that Scott was there and saw that there was a lot going on, and he felt he had a strong interest in the healthcare arena. So all went well. And with that, Madam Chair, I conclude my report.
Frank, do you want to do what you need to do about?
Happy to. Why don't I just start there? So I want to back up for a second, but first I have to credit our own Shannon Cox because She is the one, through the leadership program,
Yeah.
helped to recruit Scott Wakerly to our group, and I'm so glad that worked out. So let me back up. I'll start with what Michael just mentioned. So there's an investment.
Frank, I'm sorry. I know I called on you. We need to approve the financial statements.
Yes.
And I don't want to lose track of that. So may I have a motion to approve the financial statements with the edits? We have corrections.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. All right. Sorry, Frank. My bad.
No worries. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have a pretty extensive report. Included in that is an update on the property tax reform, but I'm not going to get into that lengthy discussion now. The long and short is the property tax reform is still on the table. We just don't know what it's going to look like yet, or if it's going to be on the ballot. But it still is an option. But I did want to let me start off with what Mr. Kent just finished with, the Florida Fit Cash Pool. So there's an additional investment vehicle that fits within our investment policy, within the guidelines of how we can invest tax dollars that will gain us in the ballpark of 0.2 to 0.5% increase in returns. Now, realistically, with the amount of money we invest, this could be thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. It is not going to be a massive increase. However, it's an increase in our return. So any way we can do it, I would like to proceed with that. As Michael said, we did bring this to Finance and Audit Committee. The recommendation is that we proceed with this as an additional investment vehicle. So you would see this added to the list with all the other investments we make with periodic updates. I'm going to start slow on investment with it, with a lower number, and then we'll look and see how we maximize our returns over the year, and we'll strategize again for next year. But the whole goal is to keep as much of our money invested for as long as we possibly can. Even today, we'll do our disbursements after this meeting. Kate and I, after this meeting, will actually load. I just transferred the money out of an investment today to be able to pay the disbursements, which we will do after this meeting, after the vote is taken. But I keep it to the very last day so we can maximize every dollar we get. So that's the Florida Fit Cash Pool.
I know, I suspect, I know, the answer to this question, this is allowable under
Correct.
Florida law.
Correct.
Do you have a legal opinion? Just to make sure that we're on solid
So
ground.
to answer the question, the company, this third party that we work with, so we have multiple layers of protection through US Bank, which is our custody account, and Deep Blue Advisors. We've been using Deep Blue now for at least 3 years. All they do is manage governmental dollars, making sure that they are invested properly. We did vet this through the Finance and Audit Committee in a long discussion, went through an explanation of what the pool is, what the risks and benefits are. And so this would be just an additional one, to complement our treasuries, to complement the PDP, to complement our money market that we currently have at Seacoast. But it is well within the confines of, what we can and can't do with tax dollars.
Thank you.
So I'd like to touch on the low-income pool for a minute.
Before we go there, I would go ahead and ask that, and would move this, that we allow the addition of our funds to be utilized in this cash pool. Again, it will be it's not all of it, it's going to be a small part of it.
Correct.
Give us a taste of it, and we'll see how it does.
A motion?
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Alan, any discussion, any questions?
No. I'm satisfied with what Frank presented.
Great, thank you, Dr. Mackett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree with the strategy of essentially testing the waters by investing a small amount, see what the yield is over, say, the next 6 months or the remainder of the year. And if it bears fruit, then maybe we consider switching some of the pool money.
Thank you. That's the strategy indeed. Thank you, Dr. Mackett.
Is there any public comment? Kate, anything? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just had a question. Yesterday, we were given the updated draft of the finance policy on audit.
Mhm.
Are we going to address that today?
Other business,
Yeah.
Okay, we're not
finished
going to do
too.
it under
or
finance.
excuse me, unfinished business, apologize.
Okay, Frank, back to you.
Sure. So the low-income pool, I just wanted to give a brief explanation of what that is. So we are making, included in this disbursement, the two payments to ACA for the low-income pool. And what these do is they offset provider losses at our community health centers. The relationships and these monies are specifically for whole family and Treasure Coast Community Health. But there's an important point I wanted to make, and this is something that leveraging the district to be able to bring in more federal dollars is exactly what we're doing here. So for this fiscal year, our contribution of $668,629 will leverage another $846,000 in federal matching funds. So let me say that again. Because we're contributing to these community health centers to offset provider losses of $668,000, we bring in another $850,000. So this is a $1.5 million total contribution because, we are, making the 686. And ultimately, this supports healthcare access and services for underserved residents in our community. What's so important about this is it multiplies the impact of district funding. So without our contribution, we would never have access to these federal dollars.
Are there restrictions on how the 846 gets used? Does it have to follow the 668?
Not that I don't know the answer to your question.
Just
Yeah.
curious. It's
Yeah.
not a question that suggests we shouldn't do it if we can't or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just was curious.
Well, it flows to the community health centers, but yeah, I can't answer that. I think that's probably all I'll mention in my report. Several of these things we touched base on last time. So what I'll do is let's start, and if I may, Dawn, if you could provide a brief update, please.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so good afternoon, trustees. Over the last month, I have successfully completed all of our on-site audit visits. Reports are coming. I did finalize and issue audit reports for Tykes and Teens, Mental Health Associates, and We Care. They were all sent to the trustees. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I'm also working very closely with our legal counsel on policy revisions and updates to ensure that all of our procedures remain current and compliant. Additionally, I did conduct the 3-month review on the TCH financials, and I gave that update brief to the trustees for yesterday's meeting. In addition, I've also been monitoring the proposed Florida House Bill 797, which is legislation regarding nonprofit organizations for any potential changes that may impact the district audit process going forward. I want to just ensure that we remain proactive and prepared for any possible changes to our oversight requirements. And then lastly, I did complete the 4-hour ethics training approved for all of state elected officials. We're not required to take that as employees, but collectively, we all thought it was a good thing for us to all participate in that training, and we did find it very insightful. And I conducted a 1-hour fraud prevention and false claims training with the rest of the staff at the district. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Jenny?
Good evening. I did want to just touch base what I already gave you yesterday, but talking about the deadline for the evaluations is tomorrow at 5 p.m. And next week, when we're back from the holiday, I will be putting together the scoring rubric and getting that out to you as quickly as I can. And in addition, I'll be sending out another trustee survey so that you can give us feedback and recommendations for next year. So I'll take care of that soon.
Thank you, Jenny. We're going to skip Caitlin tonight. Shannon, you're not going to say anything about policies, I hope.
Oh, I would never, actually. Yes, of course. Just echoing the same sentiments about policies. These policies that are being created are either in an effort to stay ahead of our performance review recommendations or in anticipation of hopeful federal grant money. So apologies, but there will be a slew of policies coming your way in the following months. And just a little update on the performance review. I'll give a more in-depth one in the coming months. However, we are making great progress towards satisfying all of those recommendations with, if you remember, one of those recommendations needing heavy trustee discussion and guidance. So just stay tuned for more policies and updates. Thank you.
I appreciate the work you're doing. Yesterday, when we were, the policy we're looking on procurement, if it would be helpful for me if to know that you're working on another policy that may be connected. So because then the question, I may not have as many questions that I want to explore on a given topic because those questions are answered elsewhere in the rules. So as I know you're juggling a lot, but just as we're going through, to the extent one or more rules are connected, if we could have them together, that would be helpful for me.
Understood. We'll
Thank
make
you.
sure that happens going forward.
Thank you, Shannon. And Kate, if you please.
Sure, I just have one brief update. Over the past several months, I've been working with the TCCH maintenance management team to correct a code violation that was received at the Gifford Health Center. The violation was in regards to missing dead trees and bushes that were outlined on the property site plan. Ms. McNally also assisted in responding to the county. She reviewed all of the documentation and provided written acknowledgement and a corrective action plan. As outlined in district policies, we obtained 3 bids from local landscape companies and ended up choosing a bid which was most appropriate. The county is set to do its final inspection, and I just found out about an hour ago that they approved everything. So we're all set, and everything is looking good. So we should be good to go.
Thank you, Kate. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Michael.
I would ask question of the landscaping. I'm not sure that's something anybody's ever paid any attention to. So, I mean, I don't know if on an annual basis, it makes some sense to make sure that the irrigation's on. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's being done.
I can speak to that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
we have a lease agreement with TCCH for that property. They pay $1 a year in rent, and it calls for them to be maintaining landscaping,
Okay.
irrigation, those types of services. However, this was a fairly large undertaking and really has to do with the property's structure. So we felt it was our responsibility to correct this. They have done on their own all of the irrigation repairs. So I think it was a good partnership in working with them, but moving forward, they're responsible for all of those.
we just don't want to be there again at some point in
Right.
time.
Frank and I are putting the admin budget together right now and looking at what we've spent. We've spent very minimal on the Gifford Health Center this year. This is, probably the first big lift. But we typically don't budget more than $10,000 in that account.
And Jenny, they're due at what time?
I'm sorry?
5 o'clock.
That'd be 5 o'clock,
PM.
5:00.
East Coast time.
Thinking of the Gifford Center, and I was like, what?
Any other questions about Frank's report or the team's report? Appreciate it. Okay, let us move on to we have 2 reports, semi-annual reports. First up is Sunshine Physical Therapy Clinic, and we have Jenny Blossom with us. Welcome.
Thanks, Kate. Like magic. I apologize. I had not made copies, so Tina was gracious enough to go get copies of what I had sent you guys last night. So that's what these are. It is my pleasure to be in front of you all again. It's nice to see you. Thank you all for everything you do. I'm here to report on what we're doing on your behalf, on the behalf of the taxpayers and on behalf of our amazing patients. There are certain things that just kind of come up and there can't be coincidence to it. This morning, I was just looking through email and I read something about Charlie Chaplin. I don't know if any of the rest of you saw this, but I pulled a portion of the quote because it was really meaningful to me in this forum. Neuroscience has confirmed that generosity is not a soft virtue, it's wiring. When we give our time, our resources, our care, the brain activates its natural reward circuits, the same chemicals sparked by love and joy. Evolutionary biologists suggest that it was a critical adaptation. Our ancestors survived not because they were strongest, but because they cooperated, shared, and cared for one another. So generosity is humanity's oldest survival tool, and like so many things in life, it scales. So I just wanted to say thank you to you as stewards of our taxpayer dollars and all the amazing funds that you're able to leverage through that for the work that you're doing on behalf of our communities. So for Sunshine, in the 6-month period that I'm reporting on between October 1 and March 31, we saw our 23 therapists now saw 12,652, they provided that number of visits to 745 individuals. Of those, 50% of those in county, which was 11,644 visits in county, were for patients either with Medicaid or fully uninsured. So thanks to funding from the hospital district, you all have supported 343 visits for 248 patients, of which 81% of those are children. It represents a 34% increase over the anticipated number for this period. In our proposal, we suggested we would be seeing 4,000 visits in this period, and clearly we saw quite a number more. Of the pediatric patients you supported, 95% have one or more special need diagnosis, and the majority require at least 2 of the 3 disciplines that we provide. So where your funding stands today, after April's reimbursement, there will be $195,000 left in what was allocated. That has quite a bit to do with this increased influx of wonderful patients and the work that our therapists are doing. It also has a lot to do with the work of our clinical director, Dr. Anna Flagg, who's here with me today. She has been focused quite a bit on cancellation and refill rates and has been doing a phenomenal job of improving those for us. So I think that we're seeing that a bit in the increase that we've seen in those 6 months. Looking ahead, though, our top organizational priorities really are what I wanted to focus on with you today. We have engaged an RCMS coding specialist out of Atlanta, someone who was recommended to us by one of the most respected nationally recognized individuals in the field. We have moved our electronic billing to a third-party provider. We've contracted with a local development and marketing consultant to assist in building the consistency of our messages as we move further into community engagement. And we have hired a patient relations and community engagement coordinator who's providing a lot of patient support. Her job is to interact with the patients. We are working to collect a lot of the community access to care and other services that we can offer to the patients, not because it's something we provide, but it's because what so many of our partners provide. So she has been doing a phenomenal job with that. But our focus is, as always, financial sustainability. Maximizing reimbursements is at the core of that right now. We are working on cleaning up claims, making sure our claims are going through the first time and that they are maximized in the way they're being coded. We're training our therapists on more efficient ways of coding their notes and making sure that they're utilizing the proper codes for the work that they're doing. That's kind of an ongoing thing for any medical organization. We're also, as Frank has recommended to us so many times, working with our referring providers to encourage them to give us the Medicare and private insurance referrals, as well as the Medicaid referrals that we bring in so readily. We're preparing to renegotiate all of our existing insurance contracts and focusing quite a bit more on our insurance aging and being more proactive in doing that, and also sending requests for reconsideration on denials. Our productivity rate, it has increased, and that goes back to my comments about cancellation and refill rates, and I think some of that is in the report I provided to you. And we're also working on decreasing our waiting list, whether it means we have to increase our staff or whether it means that we have to be a little more diligent in moving our patients through the process. Organizational growth remains a similar focus, establishing synergistic partnerships. We are still interested in expanding our service area, diversifying our specialty services. We added LSVT this year in all 3 disciplines, and we've added lymphedema therapy to our roster of specialty services, and that has been very well received in the community because it's very needed, and there are not many providers who offer that. And then, of course, maintaining our pipeline of donor prospects and continuing to work in the philanthropic realm. So with that, I am open to questions.
Questions for Jenny?
Well, I'll play the math game.
Okay.
Based on 7 months of expenses for Sunshine, at 485, 330, if I divided that by 7 and took it times 12, it comes out to $6 less than $832,000. You're budgeted at $680,000. I don't know if there have been discussions ongoing at all with staff, but there's going to be a wall you're going to hit at some point here.
Yes, we are aware. And we will be hitting that within the next few months, unless, which is the current plan, we just simply divide up what we have remaining and we submit for that across the balance.
That would result in a lack of access for the community to you?
Well, hopefully not.
Well, I think Michael's point is, don't be afraid.
Well, we're going to be about 154,000 short.
Don't be afraid and come back is what I mean.
Well, I'm hoping that you might entertain that, greasing the skids a little, but that was not the purpose of my visit today. So
I'm aware of that.
yes.
You mentioned, is the pediatrics trending growth for you all? Are you seeing increasing patients in pediatrics? I may have heard more than you said as you were giving your report. It sounded to me like there's a little bit of emphasis on pediatrics.
Well, there is, because pediatrics represents the majority of our Medicaid patients. And so it would be natural that the hospital district funding would support the majority pediatrics. That said, we continue to have wait lists in our pediatric program. There continues to be a growing need in pediatrics. We are focused quite a bit on school readiness and focusing on preparing kids for kindergarten. So our 0 to 6 age group is steadily growing. So it is an area that we're focused on.
What's driving your wait list? What's the cause? Is it available space? Is it clinicians? Is it a combination?
The children that we see require a significant amount of therapy, mostly because of the special needs component. So they will be with us for a long time. The fact that we don't move them through their goals as fast, or that we have to continue to reestablish new goals as they're making progress, keeps them with us. They can be with us for years.
Right. Well,
But
when I hear wait list, I'm thinking of potential patients that are out there waiting for the opportunity to come see you.
yes,
I think that we probably all have an interest in figuring out a strategy or plan to mitigate that.
yeah.
So,
And there's always a need. We have been reaching out to try and increase our therapy staff. However, you all know from the first moment I walked in here, we're landlocked, which is why trying to expand our service area by identifying other opportunities is certainly a focus of the board right now.
So Jenny, I guess a question for me, following up on the wait list. Do you have a wait list of people that are not receiving any services because you don't have capacity? Or is it the wait list that the people you are serving, it takes a lot of time for them to get more services?
You mean, are they current patients looking
Are they
for
patients that are
additional?
waiting?
It's both.
Oh, it's both. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we do have current patients who need additional services with another discipline, who may be in PT right now and need speech. Speech is our longest wait list. And it could be just our referrals that are waiting for initial eval.
And do you have numbers on those wait lists?
Okay, yeah.
Hello, I'm Dr. Anna Flagg, the clinical director. I will say that one of the other things with our wait list that we are working on to try to cut down is when we go back to cancellations and attendance. By really reviewing the patients that are actually coming, we are actually increasing the outcomes and meaning that they're getting more consistent therapy, therefore they're meeting their outcomes sooner, therefore able to get off the schedule quicker because they've met their goals. But the other piece of that is that they're not compliant or not in proper attendance to make progress or meet those outcomes, we're able to get more patients off of the wait list to get in and get seen. One of the main barriers right now, in addition to the extensive increase, I would say, in diagnosed disabilities and conditions across the nation, would be that there are a limited number of providers. There is a limited number of space, so just building on what you said as well, but our wait lists have gone down quite a bit since the beginning of the year. We've shaved off probably over 100 patients and trying to fine tune some of these processes. So I hope that helps. Thank you.
And I want to expand on, and Paul's fundamentally right. I mean, we have to be careful of just opening the door and rolling out the red carpet. We've been down that path and that's hurt us. However, if this is something that will be part of the plan to help you get through the year and meet many more of these people on the wait list, it's something we'd like to talk about sooner rather than later, because we're 3 months away from having to really put the final touches on next year's budget, which is impacted by where we're going to end up this year. So,
Right.
We certainly want you to do everything else that you can do. But there are no guarantees, but we are an option that you can explore, but let's do it, as I said, sooner rather than later. Make sure you have figured out where you're at and what you need.
You got it.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny, for the
Oh, my mic.
presentation. Would you re-educate me and the public? Are there any other providers in the county who are seeing pediatric Medicaid and uninsured patients?
There likely are. I'm sure everyone has some portion of Medicaid on their roster. The question, as it would be for any practice, is the number and the amount of level of care that they're willing to provide with the low reimbursement that they receive.
Right.
So we see them through the full plan of care, and we keep them as long as they need us.
Yeah, I was unaware that there are any others. Maybe there are some.
Well, I have to
I
say yes,
appreciate-
because I don't know.
Yeah, I appreciate the number of pediatric patients that you care for. And as Michael said, if you need more support, we need to know sooner rather than later.
Yes, thank you.
Other questions?
I have
Oh, go ahead. No.
I have one that's a little off topic. We're going to be discussing some auditing protocols. Roughly how many grant submittals or grant relationships do you have where you're asked to provide bylaws and minutes of your board meetings? I don't need to know who, but just how many roughly?
The number?
Yeah,
I would
approximately.
say 10, 12. Really, it's a pretty standard request
Thank you.
when we're going after grant
Thank you.
funding. Mhm.
Madam Chair, I just had one thing. I want the trustees to fully understand their business model. They are fantastic at what they do. But I'm going to ask you a question, even though I think I know the answer. So Dr. Flagg, could you step up as well, please? So let's just say magically, we could increase your physical space by 40%. And we also gave you an equivalent number of therapists, rooms, gym space, all that. Let's just say that happened. Often we talk about, build it and they will come. Well, that's not always true. We've all learned that in business. But my question to you is, if you increase your space by 40%, you had the therapists, how quick would you fill up?
Immediately.
We're talking a few months.
I would say within 6 months
Yeah.
to fill therapists.
And I think they can say that definitively, in part because of what Dr. Mackett said. And I think Ginny was being very generous in the fact that we don't know if there are some other providers that may see a Medicaid patient here and there, but not only do they see every Medicaid patient that they can, they also have all those specialties. And working with children, it is a level of complexity that I feel so blessed that we have in our community.
Well, I encourage all of you to come visit and see them in action, because I call our pediatric department our angels because of what they're going through every day to try and help these kids. Anna in particular, I give such kudos to her for building such a fantastic team. So not only are we seeing a number of Medicaid, but I think our Medicaid patients are also getting the best therapy in the business. So, yeah.
Alan, any questions from you?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Jenny, I apologize for not being there, but
You
good to
must
hear
be in
your
Hawaii.
presentation, and thank you for what you're doing. I want
Absolutely.
to follow up on what Dr. Mackett emphasized. Out of the fee-for-service bills you submit to the district,
Mhm.
what percentage of those are Medicaid eligible?
99.
That's what I
We do
thought.
have
And
we have a
I agree
handbook.
with Dr. Mackett's surprise that there might be anybody else in the county. I think without you, our community would not have the kind of therapy available to these disadvantaged folks, particularly pediatrics. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. And thank you all for supporting it, because without you and the other generous donors in our community, we wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, you touch a lot of lives. You touch a lot of lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, next we have We Care Foundation with Danny. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, and I just wanted to thank you guys for having us here so we can let everyone know all the amazing work that we're doing at the We Care Foundation. Today, we're going to focus mostly on our ophthalmology and nursing program. Those are the two programs that the hospital district itself helps support. With these programs, we are transitioning towards a more efficient, patient-centered type of care. You'll see with some of our numbers, we're a little off, but it's because we're making things more effective. We're starting to see that a lot of our patients don't have that time to take off to do multiple appointments. So we're helping with that continuity of care. With our programs, we are expanding access to healthcare with our ophthalmology and with our nursing. And we're also supporting preventative care. Not only are these patients coming in and seeing the nurse and signing up for programs, it's not just ophthalmology that they're being seen for. Our cardiac patients, A lot of times with their hypertension, they need to be seen for their ophthalmology. So far, within our 6 months, we've seen 417 patients. 160 of those are unique. Again, going back to a lot of our patients that have those comorbidities, they're going to see multiple different patients or multiple different physicians. So far, we have spent $30,796 of the hospital district's funds. With that, for nursing itself, we've seen 321 patients. 121 of them have been unique. In ophthalmology, we've seen 96 patients and 33 of them have been unique. With ophthalmology, a lot of times our patients have to go in for multiple injections. So you might see that the numbers are a little off is because they go in for monthly injections, whether it's for their right eye and left eye. Also, the doctors have been more efficient with the care that they're providing, where instead of having a patient go for one day for their left eye and another day for their right eye, they're doing it at the same time. Fewer visits actually can improve care. You have better coordination with a lot of the patients. You have a less burden on the patients, and you also improve compliance. That's the biggest thing with a lot of our patients is being compliant with the care so that they don't wind up back into the hospital or going back and forth between seeing the cardiologist over and over. So we want to make sure that we're improving that. Encounter numbers don't fully measure the impact that we're doing here in Indian River County. We have more services delivered per visit, and our patient outcomes are higher and more positive. Things didn't go as planned of what we originally did in the beginning. A lot of our numbers, again, were off. Our nursing numbers were a lot lower than we had anticipated, but it's not because we've had a decrease in patients. It's because we've become more effective. During my clinic time, I would have a patient, we do a pre-screening over the phone beforehand, and then when the patient comes into the clinic is when we'll do our eligibility and we'll meet and greet with the patient, and then we would have them see the physician on the same day. So it's not that we're having any less of patients, but we are just trying to make it more effective. Our ophthalmology numbers are increasing, which is great that we're doing a lot more work for a lot of our patients. A lot more patients are actually going through and getting these procedures done, but sometimes those procedures for that one patient may be 1 or 2 visits. Especially with follow-up care. A lot of our patients have to go in and get diagnostic testing done beforehand. Once they get the diagnostic testing, they'll get their prescriptions, and then they'll go in for the surgery and then have follow-up care. So those numbers are a little outside of what we were hoping for. We're at 59% at our 6-month mark, and we're hoping that what we'll be able to do is reallocate some of our nursing funds since we have condensed some of those visits to be able to support the rest of the ophthalmology for the remaining of the year. Our main outcomes is that we're expanding access to specialty care. We're reducing the treatment barriers where we're making it available for the patients to be able to get that care during one time, and we're improving that continuity of care. So those patients not only get to see that physician that one time because we have the contracts with the physician, it's that same physician every single time, and they always have access to me as well. We are supporting in early intervention. We are getting our patients seen within a 2-week time frame from the time that they get their eligibility. We get a referral. If we have a clinic that week, we can get that patient in that week to see somebody. We're also our program is helping prevent more serious complications. A lot of times with these patients, they don't realize how bad their eyesight is until after they've gotten the surgery. And so we are preventing potential hospitalizations for either a motor vehicle accident or a slip and fall at home, or, turning on the hot water instead of doing the cold water and doing a burn. A lot of times, some people don't even realize how bad their eyesight is. Over the next couple months, we have looked into integrating our care coordination and working with making better decisions for the patients. We want to make sure that we are giving them the optimal amount of care. So when they're coming in for their eligibility, when I'm doing my assessment with the patient, I'm making sure that I'm hitting every barrier so they don't have to keep coming back and forth with different referrals and going to see those physicians again. We're also expanding our partnerships. We're out grinding, trying to get more ophthalmology and optometry. So a lot of our community partners have either, not doing as many optometry, and we're seeing a lot more optometry. So our doctors are actually opening up their doors, not only for cataract surgery, not only for Avastin injections, but also to get glasses. So doing those simple exams, we're able to get those. So we're expanding that partnership, and we're improving our referral system. I know Cleveland Clinic just got a new amazing referral system. I can't wait for it to get up and running, but it's going to be directly right to us. We don't have to wait for faxes, and I'll be able to communicate directly with them. But we also have an amazing patient advocate who communicates to try to get these referrals. And like I said, we're trying to see what else they're going to need. If they're coming in for hypertension, have they had their eye check? Have they, had their skins checked? Have they done everything? And if not, we're trying to get them in to see those physicians. The first part of the grant cycle demonstrated that we still have a strong community need for We Care. We are working on our operational improvements, and we are having a meaningful impact on patients. We've had many patients who love to write stories to us and let us know, how thankful they are for the care that we're providing. We had a 40-year-old patient that lost his eyesight. He lost his job, which then he lost his insurance, lost his home, had to move back in with his family. We were able to provide that care. He was able to get that cataract surgery, and now he's able to go back and be productive in the community. Looking ahead, we also want to make sure that we will make sure that the funds continue specialty access care, preventative care, and care coordination. We want to improve these outcomes, and sometimes our numbers might look a little off, but we are trying to make every dollar count towards maximizing the grant dollars with access, efficiency, and better healthcare outcomes. Thank you.
Questions from the trustees? And you did a good report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Here we have unfinished business.
So based upon yesterday's discussion of the updated financial policy 100.02 for internal audit, Dawn had provided copies yesterday to all of the trustees that have the red lines in there. If there are any questions, I'm going to pass it over to Dawn. She has updated this based upon the input provided during the March meeting. So as long as this aligns with all of the updates, that's what you will see in the red lines. And any additional questions based on this latest draft, either Dawn or I can field those.
Questions from the trustees?
I have some observations, but I'll wait till she's. Or
Okay,
I
well,
don't know if she had anything that specifically you wanted to say.
no, just that
Okay.
the revisions that we did make were directly from the trustee comments and where you asked us to make the revisions in the March meeting. And that's why you have the red line version in front of you, so you can see what we changed. And in addition to that, there were just some formatting issues, spaces that were out of whack. Other than that, the only other changes to the policy itself is because of the comments and the areas that we were asked to make.
Thank you. Paul?
The only thing that I really have is, in light of our meeting last month and the conversation that we had, defining why we would want certain governing documents. For instance, we don't want to invade, or we're not going to invade their decision for raises, promotions, hirings, firings, any of that. Not going to do that. Not at all. I think that it may be helpful for us to define why it is we're looking at these things. For instance, viability of the organization to continue to provide the service. So for instance, if the district has a reason to believe that there is a red flag or threat, that triggers inquiry. If through your efforts we're seeing HIPAA violations and things that threaten their ability to maintain their licensure, those sorts of things, it may be helpful for future versions of us to have that clarity. Because then I think we also need to fold that into the contract, which is something I want to bring up a little bit later, is having us looking at our funding agreement and making sure that our funding agreement incorporates the rules and things. So for instance, I don't believe there's any mention that we have rules in our existing contract, and we probably ought to do that. So, but that's a separate topic. But I think it may be helpful in clarifying for us to have that sort of language so that's really clear what it is that brings us into that topic.
And we do have some current language in our contracts, but that is something that's on our radar that we are actively working on, Jenny, Shannon, and I with legal, as far as updating the contracts, especially with a new policy coming on board. So we are already working on that for the new contracts that'll go out for the 26-27 year.
Are we going to be looking at the contract before it comes in?
And as I think I mentioned yesterday, we have a few months yet
Right.
before we're going to prepare those. So we have time.
Right. I mean, we were informed last month that there were some provisions that were vague that need to be clarified. So
We need to go through it.
Okay.
We need to go through it and incorporate, some of the changes and just update it. It's time. And we've made some updates each year, but I think we've had several new policies this year, and there's a lot more we need to do. So we'll address it collectively.
Anything further? Dr. Brackett?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would move that we adopt the internal audit policy as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? I'm gun shy, so I'm going to ask about public comment. Anybody have public comment? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Any other unfinished business? Okay. New business. We have some action required. First, Child Care Resources has a request for additional funding. Before we start, Frank, you're going to frame with Jenny?
Correct. Jenny, if you would please just give an update. So with the two folks we've got coming back tonight, Child Care Resources and Senior Resource Association, maybe just start with some context for the trustees on what the funding amount was and just more detail.
Sure. So I'll start with Child Care Resources. Just to remind you, last summer when we were approving the budget, there was several agencies that we sunset, and there was some agencies that we reduced their funding from their original request. And this happens to be two of those agencies. So Child Care Resources, they weren't sunset, but they did receive a 50% budget reduction for 2 out of 3 of their programs. One was the developmental screenings and then the early childhood intervention programs. So their original request for all 3 programs was $327,400. But what was approved by the trustees was a budget of $172,405. So that was resulting in a reduction of $154,995. We at 6 months, we did a projection of annualized what their budget would look like, and it indicated that they would exceed their or expected to spend, approximately $237,882. So you can see that would exceed the budget, their approved budget, by around $65,477. Now they're going to explain what it is that they're requesting, and I think you saw that in their written letter, but I just wanted to give you that for context. As far as Senior Resources, the Meals on Wheels program was gradually phased in a sunset over a 3-year period. The first year, budget request was reduced from 1,008,200, wait, how do how do you say that?
1,888, Jenny, that's it.
There you go. 280 to an approved budget of 756,210. And that was resulting in a reduction of $252,070. So at the 6-month mark, again, when we look at the annualized for the full year, and what they spent was 513,312 based on their spending. The estimated total expenditures for the year are projected to be 870,210. So this indicates a deficit of 114,000. Now, it looks like 2 of their programs may be under budget, so they are asking to reallocate some of those funds to go and help with the loss, and then they're looking for requesting 60,000. So I'll let them explain it a little bit better than that, but I just wanted to give you kind of a context.
And Jenny, if I may, one of the things I just wanted to add specific to SRA and Meals on Wheels is where the program was sunset over 3 years. The trustees did elect this year to allow the application from their LOI. So
Right.
that has been
Right.
advanced to full application.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we will start with childcare resources.
Hello, how are you? I'm Tara Beard. I actually direct our school. I apologize, our executive director had to be at a different meeting. So first of all, thank you so much for being a valued partner and also the opportunity to ask for additional funding. The additional funding would allow for approximately 417 additional encounters in our early intervention piece in the program. We are out of money in that program. I think the encounters, when we look at all of our program, that fee for service, we estimated encounters based, we made a best estimate, which obviously is grossly under what we need to do. So we're requesting $59,000 roughly dollars specifically for that program. I feel like we're pretty spot on with our 2 other programs that you're funding and won't require additional funding. So it's really just specifically for this early intervention piece, which involves more the strategic part of assessment. So coaches going into classrooms, working one-on-one with direct service for children who require intervention, meeting with their families, home visits, through qualified BCBAs, board certified behavior analysts who are on staff. So that is an overview.
Questions? What is leading to the increase?
I think it's just when we switched to fee for service, we estimated encounters and then we received a reduction. So we were basing encounters based on the reduction in funding, as well as estimating the number of encounters. And honestly, when talking with Tracy, who's our department head for that department, she was surprised. The fee for service actually highlighted how many times she's meeting with families, how many times the BCBA is going into a classroom and working one-on-one, and it's much more frequent than anticipated.
If I may just remind the board that one of the things that we'll have this year that's going to be of significant value, while we have had it for a few organizations in the past, we're going to know we won't have this encounter issue in future years because we're going to know exactly how many, the organizations are going to know exactly how many encounters we're talking about for every organization we fund, every program.
Our upcoming grant, sorry, Frank, our upcoming grant for the 26-27 school year, those encounters are more reflective of what you'll be seeing, which is more reflective of what we're asking for now.
Yes, Dr. Mackett.
Yeah, thank you for that update. I think, at least speaking for myself, one of the things we wrestled with last year is it most of those early interventions at the school, is that really an educational intervention or is it a healthcare intervention?
I
Could
think
you
it's-
expand on that?
I think it's very different. While this is a wellness and early intervention program, that's part of Child Care Resources. So we really have three pieces to our overall program. The school is one piece, the early intervention is another piece, and then there's an outreach piece. So that wellness and early intervention program, a lot of it takes place on our campus. It also goes to other campuses where children might need these services. And at some point, we're in the middle of a capital campaign and building expansion, where we're going to open that up to the community at large. So it will have the capacity to serve more children. So yes, it's happening in a school, but it's not the school, it's its own department. Did that help?
Only a little bit.
Okay.
And I,
That's great.
yeah, and I apologize
No.
for that. So I'm not speaking so much of location as the content of the intervention.
Right. I think it is behavioral intervention. It's being performed by a board certified behavioral analyst. So it is is that more of what you're looking for? I apologize.
So is it addressing emotional dysregulation?
It's emotional dysregulation, children who would be on the autism spectrum because we know if a child, let's say for instance, has an autism spectrum disorder, they're in the classroom, they're exhibiting behaviors, they need ABA therapy, they need that BCBA to help them become successful in a classroom environment. And the teacher also needs to understand what that child may need to be successful, to help with school readiness, to ensure that they can at some point hopefully perform on grade level. So it all is a ripple effect. That child in the classroom, if they aren't getting what they need and learning that from that BCBA, it has a ripple effect throughout the classroom. So really it's a holistic way to deal with those behavioral issues.
So again, I'm hearing that the behavioral analyst's input is informing, say, the IEP for that student?
Yes, they have an individualized support plan. Several of the children have functional behavioral assessments, which is an evidence-based, data-informed medical tool that they look at to decide what's the root cause of this problem, where is it coming from, how many times, how can we work towards extinction of this behavior, various things. Although I'm not a BCBA, I'm probably answering that not to the best of my knowledge, obviously.
Okay.
but-
No, that was informative. Thank you.
Okay.
Michael?
We were very challenged a year ago.
Mhm.
The BCBA, am I saying that right?
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about the qualifications, what it takes to become. We got hung up a bit,
Okay.
I believe, on what was medical, what was behavioral, what was educational,
Mhm.
and expand on that.
Absolutely. I think depending on which lens you're looking at. But a BCBA is a graduate level analyst. They're board certified and they have a board. They have to take an exam. It's schooling far beyond a bachelor's level degree. They are performing that service with the parent's permission and authorization in a classroom environment, in a home environment. Frequently, they go to the home and help the parent because they're struggling at home as well. How's that? Keep me going. Keep me on track here.
And these are your staff?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
How many are there?
There are two.
Okay. Is that a service? This is kind of an ancillary question. Is that a service that there are other organizations could provide?
There is.
I'm thinking types of
yeah,
teams,
yeah.
for example.
No, I understand. Tykes and teens would be a little different. That's more mental health based.
Right.
That's more psychological. A lot of times if you require BCBA, ABA, you're looking at a medical diagnosis and earlier intervention for autism spectrum disorder. There's a lot of them. ADHD, they can work with ADHD, which is a medical diagnosis. So typically if they're working one-on-one, and that's our top tier of children, roughly 5%.
As we're moving forward into our budget cycle.
Yeah.
And Michael Kent touched on, Tallahassee has a lot of interest in making sure that everybody's staying in their lane. We saw that with the Doge sorts of, those are bigger units of government or whatever, but I'm personally mindful of that. And I want to protect the organization to make sure that if we're ever scrutinized, we can say we're in our lane.
Yeah.
And we're doing our best to stay in our lane while provide services. One of the things that will be helpful for me as we move into the next process is amplify the conversation that we just had.
Excellent.
Okay. And know, in addition to that, what services can generate billing potentially someplace else. Okay. Because one of the things that I've noticed in the 3.5 years is to some degree, there are silos of what's being done. And I would like to see us think more strategically in connecting so that the services get provided. And if there's a third party out there somewhere that should be stroking a check, I want to find them and have that be the primary source first. And I think that integration of the various services in our community, I think is something that we really should be working toward.
Absolutely.
And I've got I have an ear for that. So, but more importantly, in terms of moving through the cycle coming up, an amplified version of the conversation that you just had will be helpful.
Understood. As far as behavioral, that is a really challenging, trying to get a diagnosis for a child under the age of 5 for ABA services can be challenging. Roughly 20 to 30% of the children in our program need intervention beyond that. And those are independent therapists who come in and bill the children's insurance.
And I have a sensitivity also to, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, okay, is the overdiagnosis. A 3-year-old boy who's just being a boy.
Absolutely.
As an example,
As
not.
a mom of boys, I can.
Yeah. So anyhow, looking forward to hearing from you guys.
Absolutely.
As we move forward.
Tara,
Ma'am.
I recall some of the conversation that Dr. Mack is remembering about behavior. And the trustees came together and reduced funding for a particular reason. And I don't have a photographic memory. I don't remember, but my feeling is, my belief is it was related to that this is behavior. Is there, and I also am so sorry to put you on the spot because this is not you're not responsible for this program. So I'm sorry the others weren't able to be here tonight.
They owe me a lot.
Big time, big time. So that, I think that would be what my concern is. We made a decision last year. It wasn't related to encounters or anything like that. It was priority for the district. So has anything changed since last year that would cause us to look at this a different way?
I would say that moving forward, that department assembled a task force, for example, where they brought in a local pediatrician. We had someone who came in from TCCH. We had local therapists come in, and we also had a philanthropist on that task force. And they spent several meetings talking about where is this going? Where are the shortfalls? How can this serve the greater community at large? How does this fall into this particular scope and why it's necessary, and looking at the need. They just wrapped that up, and are really gathering a final report with all of the details, but it was pretty informative is my understanding, and it's very data and medically driven.
I do not hear me say that this is not a needed program.
Absolutely.
And that the 20 or 30% of your children who need this program need this program. I am not debating that at all. I'm still wondering if this is germane to our priorities. Other discussion, Alan?
Yeah, I guess you sort of addressed this, but I had it from a slightly different point of view. In your wellness and early intervention program, you mentioned you have 2 behavioral specialists. You also have a registered nurse, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there anybody else involved?
We have a pediatrician on our board. We have the registered nurse who has a background in social work who runs the program. We have a case manager on staff. We have a wellness coordinator. And then we also have the 2 BCBA licensed behavioral therapists.
So that's
In
about
that
5 people. I assume the board person's not paid.
No. So that actually is separate from this. I was just naming random people.
And then how many teachers do you have?
We have roughly 28 teachers.
Okay. And your students now are about 220, is that right, with your new expansion?
Programmatically, right now, we're at roughly 160. And when we move into our new building, we'll be able to move our capacity closer to 200. And then the plan is to also expand that wellness and early intervention program with the help of the task force as to what it can mean for the community at large.
I think all of us think that Child Care Resources is a fabulous organization that makes our community better. So the only issue we struggle with is that's the district's role. We want to be supportive. The question is to what degree compared to other alternatives we've got. So any data like this report you mentioned on the analysis, I would love to have a chance to review that as we wrestle with this issue.
I think some of what we see as well is that our primary population that we serve is Alice. So our families are working full-time, in school full-time, so they don't have the ability to go and get their child treatment during the day, unfortunately. So we're coordinating care, working with the parent, working with the therapist, ensuring that's happening during the day for them and communicating that with them to ensure that needed therapies are happening and not being put to the wayside.
Michael?
I wanted to ask, you referenced 417 encounters. How many children are we talking about out of your population that are in treatment and need more?
Right. Roughly, there's about 24 children who are receiving that direct intervention right now. There's about 105 who benefit from indirect service. So there you go.
All right.
Okay. Any other conversation?
Actually,
Is there any-
could I ask one more question?
Yes. Yes.
In terms of expense, those 417 encounters that you're referring to, and the number of children involved, is there any incremental expense, or is that just part of your basic cost structure?
The expense for the encounters, hi, Mr. Jones, this is Michelle. The expense for the encounters is based upon the encounters when we put in our grant application and we estimated those encounters. And then, as we all know, we've got that 50% reduction. So the 417 encounters is based on the fee that is applied to this grant section at $143 per encounter. Does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Trustees, do we have enough information tonight to make a decision? Do we want anything from the organization before?
If I could just
Yes.
add too, that, Shannon Bowman did say that she is sorry, she had a conflict, couldn't be here tonight. But if there's any questions that you didn't get answered, I can reach out to her.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
get back.
Tracy as well, Griffiths, who runs that entire program.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you got me.
No.
What percentage of this program are we funding? How much of the
Okay.
Off the top of my head, one moment, I'm sorry. Now, are you looking at just the early intervention piece?
Yeah, the piece that we're being asked to,
About 50%.
Okay, what do the trustees want to do?
I, for one, would like to see the report that was just referenced from the task.
Okay.
Okay.
I
The task
agree.
force.
I was going to say, I'd like to comment that
With that? Okay. What is the timing for that report?
We can probably, I know that they're working. I don't want to speak too soon, but my
Will you
guess
let
is
us know?
next week. You can probably get it. I want Tracy to be able to assemble it and make sure Shannon.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let us know let Jenny
Okay.
know.
We should be able to have it to you. My guess is by next Wednesday at the
Okay.
latest,
Okay.
given the holiday.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we will hold this decision for the overview of the data.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Jen, have they applied for funding for this program next year?
Yes, they
I've done
have.
so many
Yes,
grants.
Yes, they have.
In the
And
last month and a
I
half.
Didn't hear the question
running
that was
together.
just asked, so I apologize. But yes, for early intervention for the fiscal year 26-27, they requested 156,778, which represents 82% of their total program
Okay.
budget. And I think that might have been the question. And then they estimated 1,092 encounters for that.
And those numbers are in line with the increase.
The increase over last
With-
year is,
My numbers were-
at their original request, is $74,511 increase from their original request.
Basically, we'll be delaying this. I mean, we don't meet again for several
Until
weeks.
June.
Yeah, it'll be June.
Yeah.
But the sooner,
Absolutely.
it's not
As you can tell, it
gonna,
takes us a while. So sooner we can get the data better.
but when you got it, get it to,
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I
Great.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you both.
I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Senior Resource Association, so we'll ask Karen to step out. Oh.
Karen, you might have to make the door not locked because you'll get locked out.
Yeah, I got locked out.
Got locked
I'm
out.
going out that way. Oh, got locked out.
Yeah,
I
that
did.
door,
I had to get
so-
security, just so you know.
Even like in the hallway,
Yes.
not the outside. Okay.
I was
Get
gonna say,
scared.
maybe Robin would let you back in. I don't know.
Maybe.
Depending on how it goes.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
We'll all leave out the back door.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and tell you a little bit about what we've been doing and how our programs have been going. And thank you for allowing us to submit a proposal again for next year. We certainly appreciate that. So for Meals on Wheels, as has been discussed, this year we were reduced, our funding was reduced by a quarter, by 250,000. So we were given $756,210. And our goal, because we are always committed to never turning away or never stop feeding an individual who we are currently feeding, we decided the best way to go about doing this was by attrition. In other words, people who stop receiving the service, whether they go into an assisted living facility or they pass away or they move in with their children. So unfortunately, or fortunately, the attrition rate did not happen the way that we anticipated that it would. And therefore, we're ending up with a shortfall in funds to continue feeding everyone that we had committed to feed. And that shortfall is $114,000. On the other hand, our emergency alert response system, because of the way that through this new process, we were billing for the encounters monthly instead of how we used to do it. And we had to start from scratch. So it took us a while, and it's still taking us a while to catch up to where we expected to be. We are eventually going to catch up, but it's going to be until next year till that happens. So we're seeing a shortfall, or a surplus rather, of $14,000. The Emergency Meals on Wheels program, we are also seeing a surplus of $40,000 this year. And that is because we have not had really the resources to reach out to many of our medical partners, our hospital partners, physicians' offices. When we wrote this grant, we were anticipating that we were going to hire an outreach position. And unfortunately, when it came time to budget, we were not able to do that. It is in the budget for next year. We are committed to doing it. And that's why we know that next year we will be able to see the referral numbers that we expected to see this year. So with that, we have $54,000 that is in surplus that we would like to use to reallocate it to the Meals on Wheels, so that we can continue to feed those people that we have been feeding. And in addition to that, we would like to request supplemental funding of $60,000 to cover the entire shortfall of $114,000.
Questions?
Uh,
Dr. Mackett?
Yeah, Madam Chair. Just a question first for staff. I thought that staff can work with agencies to reallocate within their funding without.
Correct, Dr. Mackett, but in this case, we didn't because this amount was capped last year at $756,210. So we did not want to reallocate those dollars without permission of the board because it was specifically capped $756,210.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding. I thought they haven't used the dollars we allocated.
From different programs. So there's 54,000 from two other programs that they're asking to reallocate to meals.
All right, thank you. And
Plus
then,
an additional 60.
right, and then if I recall, Trustee Jones made an observation at your last presentation that despite the reduction of 25% in your funding, you were able to essentially cover it minus this 114,000 from your other sources. Is that correct, Alan?
Well, I guess I was going to ask it this way. According to your request for funding for next year, in that application, you said that you thought you would serve 535 seniors in this current year. And that's down from 850 plus the year before. So it is true, the funding's down 22%, but by my calculation, the number of seniors served is down 37%. So it's disproportionately more. Something else is going on that I would like more explanation about. Can you address this?
Sure.
In fact, I'll even point out that the district never gave any money to Meals on Wheels prior to, I think it was fiscal year 2021 and 22, I believe. And then the next year we gave $1 million, which basically doubled your budget. but the number of seniors served went up quite a bit to, like I said, over 850. But now it's back to 535 disproportionately, and I don't understand why this variation in numbers persists.
So first, I can let you know that the cost of food has increased significantly since 2021. I don't have those numbers in front of me, nor do I know how much we asked for back in when we originally made the request. So there is the cost of food. We also had received for 2 years a very generous grant from Impact 100, which again increased the number of seniors that we were able to feed. There have been other sources that, we're always looking for funds, whether it's from private grants, private foundations, or from individuals. And as you know, as any organization will tell you, that number can fluctuate. So, but that's the major change that I can address is through the cost of food and through the Impact 100 grant that we received.
I think I remember you telling me also that during COVID, you got an extra amount of money from the federal government.
We did.
Expired. Is that correct?
Thank you for bringing that up. That's correct. It was the American Rescue Act. We received a significant amount of money from that, and that, of course, ran out as well.
Dr. Mackett?
Yeah, so thank you, Robin, and thank you, Trustee Jones. So that addressed part of my question. So from what you just said, I gather that you were able to receive funding from other sources. I understand that things like the American Rescue Act have terminated. Have you approached any of your other funders for an increase in funding?
Absolutely. Pretty much every one of them.
For how much?
Depends on the funder, but we asked for anywhere from 10 to 25% more in what they would allow us to ask for.
I missed the meeting, but I think someone from the State Department of Health came, and Dr. Cooney, I believe, asked if they were supporting your agency financially, and I think she said no, which kind of surprised me because I know they have nutrition programs as part of. Do you have access to any funding through the state of Florida?
Just through the Area Agency on Aging and the Older Americans Act.
I was excited to see the grant that you got recently. That was a significant grant. You obviously applied for it. That was proactive.
We received several.
Okay.
One of them was the Meals on Wheels America.
Okay.
That was meeting unmet needs. And that was for $149,000.
That was the one I saw.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is also requiring that we feed additional people, new people on the wait list.
Okay.
And that only is available through the end of November.
Okay.
So once that money runs out, then we have to figure out how we're going to continue to feed those people as well that we have added.
Actually reminded me, I think I saw a report, did former Mrs. Bezos just grant a lot of money to the
Meals on Wheels America.
Yeah.
Significant.
And how is that money, any indication as how that money is going to be allocated or used?
So they are planning to phase.
It's like
they're
60
being
million,
very
70 million,
strategic.
something
Yes,
like
60
that.
million. They're being very strategic and thoughtful about how they are handling this money. It's my understanding that they have consulted with other organizations who have received transformational gifts such as this to make sure that they are stewarding it properly and appropriately. So what they're doing the first part of, in this first year, they are taking 600 organizations throughout America and making available to them a $10,000 grant. We have been just notified yesterday, as a matter of fact, that we will receive that $10,000. Next year, they're going to have more of a competitive grant process. And those grants will be anywhere from 5,000 to 100,000, whatever that number turns out to be at this point. So now, yes, we're getting a little piece of that, but I'm happy to see that they're able to, again, spread that out as thoughtfully and strategically as they can.
I have one more question.
Yes.
And I can't quote this, but I was told by a member of your board that I think it was in February you had a fundraiser, and it was pointed out to the audience at that fundraiser that the district had cut your budget by 20. Oh, God. Sorry
25%.
about that. That the district had cut your budget by 25%, and that you raised $250,000 to 100% replace that by volunteers at that fundraiser. Is that incorrect?
That is correct.
That was the conversation I was referring to from last meeting, that your donor population had made up for the shortfall.
So we have a very complicated funding structure. Again, being committed to never turning away a senior who we're currently feeding, just that's always at the front of our mind. So let me see how I can explain this. So we're currently feeding, there's a wait list of 503 individuals, okay? We are currently feeding 340, now the wait list, these are people on the wait list for public funding, okay? So of those 503 individuals, we are currently feeding through philanthropy 347. 219 of those 347 are being fed with funds from the hospital district. Now, that means that there's 166 individuals on the wait list as of April 30th we are still not feeding. With the $149,000 that we received from Meals on Wheels America, we took 116 people, this was back in January that we were notified. We took 116 people from that public funding wait list and are able to feed them with those philanthropic dollars. But again, remembering that that money goes away the end of November. So we have this wonderful bucket of money that we received through our golf tournament. And again, being strategic, we wanted to make sure that once those people who we're feeding for Meals on Wheels America, 116 people, once that money runs out, we have to feed them. We have to continue feeding them. So since we have had we've had monies coming in a variety of different ways, that is something that we can hang on to. And when the money runs out the end of November from Meals on Wheels America, we can use that money to continue to feed these individuals. So that's our plan. You know, if we don't receive the funding from the hospital district, yes, we have some funding that we can apply to it. However, we're going to be back in the same situation the end of November when we have to tell people that who we're feeding that we can't feed them.
Any other questions, discussion?
Just in preparation for the next budget cycle, my father's 93. I go to Melbourne. He's homebound, feed him lunch. Family takes care of him. We have some people that were able to help with us. So he has contact. Otherwise, he would be homebound alone, okay? Not unlike most of the people you serve. I get that. And I use that example when taxpayers come to me and say, why? How is this medical care? Aren't you the hospital district? And I'll be honest, it's difficult for me to beyond just that, because I still am told, well, it's food, it's not medicine, it's not healthcare. Well, it's monitoring. Well, it's still, I need help in defending the spending. I mean, it's not. I think I speak for everybody. it's not that we don't care. I think last year a comment was made. I think I said something along the lines of we need to sharpen our pencil and as we're going through the budget process. And somebody made, well, instead of sharpening pencils, you're going to sharpen shovels. I found that offensive and not productive, but that's not what we were doing, and that's not what we were intending to do. We're wanting to also balance the interest of taking care of the community with limited tax dollars, sensitive tax dollars, and looking over our shoulder from the perspective of if we have to explain ourselves and defend the integrity of what we're doing, we need to be able to do that. And I don't mean, this is not an admonition, this is a plea.
No, I
Help
understand.
me. Okay, so I don't want you to feel like I'm wagging my finger at you. This is help us, with that discussion, because it is a difficult one for me. I don't know.
Seeing food as healthcare.
Yes,
So it's funny you say that because obviously, at the golf tournament, I'll use that as the perfect example. People were surprised. Many of our attendees were surprised that the hospital district did not see something as basic as food being healthcare. In that is the basis of good health. Without food, you cannot have good health. I'm not a doctor. I can't explain it any other way, but I can tell you I've gone on Meals on Wheels routes, many of them. I do that for a lot of reasons. One of them is to keep myself grounded and be connected with what I do and why I do it. And it is not only the food, it is the wellness checks. But it's also dealing with isolation, being able to go in and sit down and you just see the individuals who are hungry to have somebody to talk to. Okay, so that's not direct healthcare, but it certainly has something to do with their mental status and their mental health. So there is that part of it. There's also, in looking forward, in our application, we have developed a partnership with Treasure Coast Community Health and Whole Family. And through this partnership, we'll be able to offer our clients who don't have a primary care physician or don't have access to medical care, through this partnership, we'll be able to offer that to them. So we heard you, and that is an added way for us to actually show that this is in fact serving people in a medical capacity.
And I think that's probably why we said, please come back.
Yeah.
For
We heard you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder, I'm throwing this out there. It's really two requests. It's really surplus and it's new funding. So I wonder if we should vote on those two, in those two different ways. I don't know if that helps anything, but.
I was headed that way. I think it might make it easier for part of this. And to that end, I would move that in this instance, I have no problem with the dollars from the other programs being reallocated to Meals on Wheels.
and I'll
I
second.
understand why staff didn't go there in this circumstance.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Alan, any?
I agree with
discussion?
that. I was going to say the same thing, so it's good.
My gosh, look at us. Public comment. Any public comment? We have a motion on the table to move the surplus of $54,000 over to Meals on Wheels. We have a motion, move approval. Vote for approval. Who?
Aye.
I've lost my words. In favor, that's what I'm looking for. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. Okay.
I will also go the next step and move that they be awarded $60,000 for Meals on Wheels.
The supplemental grant.
Supplemental request.
Right. Do I have a second?
Doesn't sound like it.
Alan? Not that you have to do it, but I just want to make sure that you're,
I heard it. I have a view, but no, I'm not going to
Okay.
second that.
okay.
Yeah, the vote. So we do have a quorum for the individuals in the room, and then you have to have 3 votes out of the 4 of you for the votes to go forward.
The second.
And I can't, do I have
You have a
we
second.
don't have a second.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So the motion dies? I don't know.
So if one of the individuals in the room right now doesn't provide the second to a motion that was provided, yes, it would.
Okay. And I don't hear a second. So,
Okay.
okay.
But if it's possible, I'd like to offer a comment and a request. I have trouble. I agree with what Trustee Westcott said, that where do you draw the line between healthcare and getting healthy? And personally, I'm in favor of supporting Meals on Wheels. The only question is to what degree. And I have trouble reconciling the inconsistent numbers that I see between 535 people one year, 850 the year before, when you've already gotten the money to fund most of them, even though I agree, I take your point about inflation. So I would like a little more detail about how we can get our heads around where we can draw the line. Because I think it's reasonable points that each of the trustees have made as to where the line is between the role of the hospital district and healthcare. So for what it's worth, I'd make those comments. But I do want to support to some degree Meals on Wheels.
Mackett?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And as a physician, where I try to draw that line, Trustee Jones, is with the emergency Meals on Wheels for people who are coming out of the hospital that have special dietary needs. And I understand the argument that food is medicine, but on the same token, as a trustee member, I can't ever see myself as a hospital district trustee member supporting the local food bank or providing meals for all Alice families based on the argument that food is medicine. We're just constrained by how much tax dollars we have and what we can expend it on. So for me, anyway, that's sort of where I draw the line.
And to take that a step farther, year and a half ago, my dad's AC went out. I went and bought him a window unit, put it in. By analogy, having AC particularly for the elderly in Florida is a big deal. Do we start paying electric bills? You know, so I understand it's not a lack of compassion on our part. It's not a lack of understanding that, but it's more about when the legislature created us, the district, and gave us the ability to collect tax dollars for a defined purpose, we need to honor that as best we can. And sometimes it's a difficult ask for us to honor that.
So Robin, hopefully we gave you some information that will help for this next year application.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Question, would it, for Trustee Jones wanting further analysis of why the numbers are so vastly different, if I can put together a report for him? Would that
For all
be
of
okay?
us, yeah.
For all of you,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
Yeah,
Okay,
that would be appreciated.
great.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Rob,
you.
you can send that to me and I'll forward it on.
I'm sorry?
You can send that to me and I'll forward it on.
Perfect. Thank you.
Robin, will you make sure Karen can come back in?
Yeah.
I just want to say I appreciate this conversation because Shannon and I have, when we reach that budget amount, and that question came up to us, well, they reduced it, so now what do we do?
Mhm.
You know,
No,
can
it-
we allocate? And that's why we said, I think they need to come before the
Right.
trustees. So if this happens with the other agencies that we reduce, we'll let you know.
Well,
We'll be
and
back.
that's the other piece. We made decision, we phased, and it's hard to go back.
Yes,
So,
Or some.
thank you.
for some. You're right. I'm sorry. That was me.
I didn't mean to be harsh.
Don't. I can remember all in favor, for heaven's sakes. Who knows what I'm gonna say?
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Any other business?
Could I make one comment? That I
Please.
just, again, this falls in a for what it's worth comment, but apologize for not being there with you. But as you all know, my wife had an outpatient surgical procedure today at Cleveland Clinic Indian River Hospital. We were not anticipating, and unfortunately, that prevented me from being there. But I want to share with you a spontaneous comment she made today. That when I went to pick her up at the hospital, she said, "Wow, what a difference. The cleanliness is so much better than the last time I had a procedure. The staff was friendly, excellent, and did exactly what they said." And I just thought you all ought to know that. That one anecdotal example of somebody noticing the difference in the quality of medical care in our community that Cleveland Clinic's brought.
Right.
I want to double down on that.
Okay.
I wanted to wait because the third-party payer involving my wife's situation, there were not significant issues, but I want to make sure they were clear before I started talking about that situation. I don't know why, but she spent her last days there.
Mhm.
It was a beautiful experience for our family in spite of what we went through. And the treatment we got on the 5th floor throughout the hospital, where she had procedures done elsewhere, at the cancer center, without question, mercy, grace, love, support from everybody, kindness. It meant a lot. And we've not had any prior experience. I've had vicarious experiences through the folks that bark at me every now and then about things, which I don't have anymore. It was remarkable and worth noting. And Alan, I appreciate you opening the door, but the leadership there is really making a big difference.
Any public comment? And she's back.
I'm back. Well, we were listening to the Child Care Resources presentation, and we wanted to stand up in support of it. And we have data that shows not just a dotted line, but a solid line between the difference for our kids who have behaviors and their ability to succeed in their therapy when they have behavioral intervention and those that don't. We have to discharge kids because of their serious behavior issues. We can't get to therapy without that. I'm going to let Anna speak really quickly, but I hope that as you're learning a little bit more about what ABA and BCBA means, you recognize that this is a true medical intervention. So
I'll speak a little bit as a clinician, but also just from my clinical kind of director role at Sunshine. We did have BCBA come in and train our therapists because it was a barrier with many of our children having developmental disabilities such as autism, ADHD, some of the conditions they mentioned that they treat. One of the barriers being when we work with these children, a lot of times we have had children try to run out of the clinic, pull fire alarms, hit therapists, scratch therapists, bite therapists. They don't have the communication skills because their brain works differently. A lot of the times, as she mentioned, they may not have a diagnosis if they're very young. And that can oftentimes get in the way of getting the supports that they need as they grow older and getting into school and parent education and that other component. From a clinical perspective, a lot of what we do is to build quality of life in patients. It's to make them be more independent so that when they're adults, they can function, they can be a member of society and have a long, healthy, happy life. For these children that cannot communicate and have severe behavioral challenges, to be able to get them with somebody that is graduate level trained and specialized in that service. What we found with training our clinicians with some of the strategies and skills as well is that they are better able to participate in therapy, better able to participate in school, less likely to be put on medication, less likely to need to keep continuing to see psychiatry, and for mental health concerns. So there's that piece. And kind of from the clinical lens too, I would say about half of our children that we treat have behaviors, like severe behaviors. And maybe a third to a quarter we refer to ABA. Physicians often are referring to ABA therapy for these children because it really helps build their skills to succeed in life, which to me is health related. So
Thank you.
thank you.
If you're so inclined, you should reach out to Shannon or Tracy.
Well, yes, and that was going to be another piece of it, is that it really is a good synergy. We had behavior therapy coming in for about 9 months, and we tracked those kids who were working with us alongside a behavior therapist. So we do have the data. You can see the line of improvement and the decrease in behaviors with that kind of intervention and their ability to meet their goals. So the earlier we can get them, obviously, the better. It is a serious issue. It's a barrier to care. So I encourage that. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Any other public comment? Hearing none?
Yeah,
Oh,
I do.
no.
Carrie, it's Heather Dales, and I will keep it very brief.
Oh.
It's been a long day. I just wanted to share very quickly to the hospital district regarding Sunshine Physical Therapy and the service and the work that they do. We at ARC have clients with special needs, and she was very generous in stating that Sunshine there might be other places that provide therapy to Medicaid clients. There are not. Having been in the industry for over 20 years, Sunshine is the primary person who does a lot of services and supports to people with special needs. And I can tell you firsthand, the treatment done from a pediatric level to an adult makes all the difference, because a lot of the pediatric clients that they see are our future clientele, and the quality of life is massively impactful. And to piggyback just what Jenny and Anna shared regarding behavior therapy and combined with standard therapy also makes a very big difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you,
Good
Heather.
to hear from you. Hearing none, meeting's